Yins guys, thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. Today is March 20th. Spring training games are underway. So many signings, so many things to talk about. And we have a guest on with us today to help us understand some questions we're asking for this spring training. Let's talk Pirates baseball. Let's go Bucks. My name is Josh. I'm joined as always by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake?
Hey, man, not much. How's it going?
It is going good, and I already hit the wrong button on the YouTube, so now we brought in our guest joining us this week from the Pirates Fan Forum on DK Sports Pittsburgh Podcast Network and Inside the Bucks Basement, our friend Gary Morgan. How you doing?
Good. Nice to actually meet you, Jake and Josh. Stellar performance on my show. Happy to be with you.
So we're glad to have you on. We're glad to be talking baseball at this point. Actual baseball games. That's very good. I know that spring training games, but, real baseball, not college baseball. And then I get slammed for saying college baseball is no fun. I've gotten slammed already because of my reluctancy to embrace college baseball. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not really that against it as much as I talk about it, but
all the levels are fun, but none of them are as fun without the top of the mountain being active.
So before let's get into some of the transactions. We like to go through all these. There's way too many for us to go through them. Some former Buccos, Phillip Evans with the Yankees, Chad Kuhl to the Rockies, Steven Brault to the Cubs, Colin Moran to the Reds. Reds are doing some interesting things. Corey Dickerson to the Cardinals, Wilmer Defoe just to the D-backs. I think that's all of them. But the Reds kind of dumping everyone over there.
Yep.
Winker and Suarez to the Mariners. Does that mean they're no longer in on Brian Reynolds?
I don't know. I hear a tale that everyone's in on Brian Reynolds.
Well, now some of the tale authors are now backing out from the Miami area. But
Keller me shocked.
Yeah. I mean, everyone, they've got, I think, 4 or 5 of their starting lineup, and then pitching with Miley.
They got India, Votto, Moose. Is Moose still there?
Moose is still there.
And who's the?
Oh,
Castillo.
I just said it. I just told you, Jake. Who?
Castillo.
Well, that's the pitcher. Who's still in the lineup?
Spezza.
Oh, Senzel is still there.
Senzel. Yeah, that's about it, right?
That's about it.
Mm.
Yep. So I they probably did better by trading Amir Garrett, though.
I mean, from minute one, when they made that Bauer trade, and everybody was like, oh, the Reds are going for it, right?
Yep.
I know Craig and I were like hair on fire, like, what are they doing? Too early.
Yeah.
They're a year or two too early.
Mm-hmm.
And, we actually had India penciled kind of as the timeline, for us anyway, as to when
came early.
Well, he came a little early, yeah. But if they were just ramping up like right now, perfect timing, right? You got India, you still got the pitcher Luis Castillo. You still probably hold on to Gray. You probably hold on to Miley.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a pretty decent team there for a run at a pretty weak NL Central.
Tucker Barnhart.
With expanded playoffs. Right?
They could have been in on Story.
I guess they could have. But the point is, they went a little early. They tried a little early. Which is funny because we have a fan base here in Pittsburgh that is starting to cry for the same thing here.
Yeah,
that's true.
Stay the course, do it right.
Yeah,
and take your shot.
Yep.
If you swing too early, you're just going to go punch drunk, and that's what happened to the Reds.
I got a text from a cousin this morning that said, actually it was a tweet by somebody that we talked about before, just saying, here's all these contracts that were offered, and then it had Pirates $5 million. And he said, This is why I struggle to watch baseball. And I'm like, now's not the time. I mean, it could be better than $5 million.
First,
but now
in baseball, what's awful? Short sample size, right?
Yeah.
Small sample. Now you cherry picked the last 2 years
Yeah.
where the Pirates are absolutely in full blown rebuild.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's
Of
also,
course.
yeah, it's the idea that it's not time to go get a big contract right now. We'll get
And
there.
are you right that that's what's wrong with baseball? Absolutely, you're right. That's what's wrong with baseball.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is. I mean, like, if this is the NFL, you lose a generational quarterback and you go out and sign 9 free agents and remake every other aspect of your team
Mm-hmm.
in one
Right.
off season because you can, because you get just as much money as everyone else.
Yep.
So I
That's
don't know.
it.
Most of the people complaining about the payroll were champions of the players getting everything they wanted. So you kind of can't have everything you want.
I wanted it all. I wanted the
Wow.
players to get everything they wanted, and I'm not complaining about it.
Now, nobody break into that terrible song. Can't do it.
So, the next sign here is a big one for me, and probably for a lot of us Pirate fans. Andrew McCutchen signs a 1-year deal with the Brewers. How do I feel now that I've had a week to process? Probably not as bad as I felt the day that it happened and the day after. It's not even about, like, I know that I was saying, oh, we need to sign Andrew McCutchen. I think it'd be a great 1-year deal. We can send him off, the whole thing. We had to be willing to do that. But it's not that. I knew that wasn't going to happen. It's the fact that he went to the Brewers. To me, there's not a single team in the league that is worse than going to the Brewers. And I don't know if that's my opinion or what, but, like, that's it for me. And maybe the phone call where he got to tell Griffey that he was wearing 24. Now you got Kutch, you got Griffey. It's all in the same scene. My heartstrings are like, oh, maybe I'm going to be okay with this. I don't know. But does this mean anything to you guys? Like, are you able to separate your heart from your head on this one? Is there anything?
I can't. I can't stand it. It doesn't even help that he's gonna wear 24. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Bad taste in my mouth.
It's going to be a cop out, but I don't like it.
Okay.
But I implore people to not be petty about it, because first, that's a great fit for Kutch. It really is. Gives him a real shot at a championship, I think. And with the pitching on that team, they've got a shot. And I love Kristen Yelich, one of my favorite baseball players in the league. I like the idea of them playing together, even though I heard Kutch is pretty much going to be their DH.
Yeah.
I still like him in that role. I still like him on that team. That's a good mix for him. It's a good city for him. He loved Pittsburgh. Milwaukee's very similar. He'll like that too. I would just say don't be petty about it, because the reason that he is now a journeyman is because he signed a little extension here in Pittsburgh that gave us that last window that he didn't have to do.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be petty now that he has to go and pick up 1-year contracts at rivals and places I don't like. I didn't like him in Philly anymore. I'm older than you guys, so I hate Philly worse than most teams. But
fair enough. Yeah, that's a good point, though. If he doesn't sign the extension with us, he gets a bigger free agent deal when his free agency comes up.
Yep.
And so he is going to kind of be in that role. When I told my wife Katie, when I said, "Hey, he might sign with the Brewers," she's like, "I don't think I can go to a game and be in the same stadium where Andrew McCutchen's wearing a Brewers jersey." And I was like, "All right." I'm also different from a lot of Pirate fans. Like Cardinals, I just respect them. I got no problem with the Cardinals. I don't care. I actually don't hate the Reds. Griffey played for the Reds. I'm a big Sean Casey fan, and he's all Reds. Even I don't even hate Votto, to be honest with you. Like, I think that his antics are funny. Cubs can get there, but the Brewers, I just hate.
There.
The Brewers
I'm
is
not a Votto fan.
when I think of the Brewers, I think of Braun and Gomez, and I just can't. I can't.
Yeah, again, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I just, to me, Kutch just rises above all that. Like, I can't dislike the guy. I'm certainly not going to sit here and say he should have stayed out of the division or anything. I just don't think we should be petty about it because we made him that. That's all. And I don't know. I just can't get around it. And that said, the other thing you brought up, I don't want to say goodbye to him again either. So I'm kind of happy he didn't come back here because it was hard enough saying goodbye the first time.
Yeah, I get that. And we had that discussion, when the off season started, we kind of started talking about it, and we were like, the only way this works is if we're willing to, because he's not ready to sail into the sunset yet.
Right.
So if, you know what I mean? So that's just not it. But
and the DH will keep him floating around for a few more years.
Yeah, that's true. So all in other, potential but never going to happen, and also failure to sign our dream corner outfield, Jock Peterson signed with the Giants.
Yeah. I saw
so
that.
I guess I have to shut up about that too. Dang it. As far as the Pirates go, Nick Mears, Blake Cederlin added to the 60-day DL. Eric Handhold designated for assignment. Saw that coming. Chase DeYoung, Austin Bryce, minor league deals. Basically, those first three were to make room for the next three. Claimed Adonis Medina off waivers from Philadelphia. Signed Heath Hembry, signed Dan Vogelback. So Adonis Medina, former prospect, he's only 25.
Yep.
And he's only had if you can even call that much of a cup of coffee in the major leagues. So the numbers are irrelevant, in my opinion, when it comes to that. The major league numbers are irrelevant. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe something there. I don't know what his contract specifics are. I don't know if there's options involved or anything like that. So I don't really know where he fits in there. But any thoughts?
Worth a shot.
Yeah, sure. Any thoughts on him or Heath Hembry?
Heath Hembry, I like. He's got experience that I think is important on a very, very young pitching staff.
Yeah.
He's won World Series, and he's pitched in high leverage games. And, I think we also look at his numbers and forget that's an AL East pitcher for years and years and years. Those are some lineups in the AL East that you're facing. The Blue Jays, the Tampa Bay, New York. Like he's getting beat up on a regular basis. So those are actually pretty decent numbers for a lefty, absent last year where he kind of fell off a little bit. So worth a shot. That's a decent signing, I think. I'd like to see them pick up another nice reliever, but he's good. I'm happy with him.
Yeah, 14 through 19, 240 games with Boston. 125 ERA plus. I like the plus statistics.
So this isn't a guy Ben doesn't know.
True. Very true.
Right.
Also, even in his 15 games with the Mets, pitched to a 345, his bad numbers that you look at are in Cincinnati,
yep.
which is not surprising.
Yeah, I think he's a quality signing. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too. And Dan Vogelback, Jake, where are you at here?
Yeah. He's going to swing and miss a lot. I don't know. He is what he is. He'll hit the ball over the fence a few times.
Yeah,
and he'll jog around the bases. Whether he hits it over the fence or not, he'll probably just jog around the bases.
And he walks a lot. I thought it was interesting. I looked at the numbers, and it's like, oh, yeah, he hit 219 last year. That's awesome. But really, if you look at like those kind of overarching numbers, I mean, hard hit rate was as hard as it's been in his whole career. But when you look at, I tend to look at when I'm comparing one guy to the next, I look at those big like statistics that cover a lot of things like WAR. For him, it's more like offensive WAR, which still wasn't great. But when I looked at it, in win probability added, I like that statistic for whatever reason. I mean, he's basically, in a different way, the same guy that Colin Moran was. His
Yeah. Except
his
maybe he won't clog the bases when he gets on.
he's actually runs faster than Moran.
Oh,
Yes.
jeez.
Well, I mean, how could he not? Moran
ran like his shoelaces were tied together.
he was so slow. But win probability added was the same exact as Colin Moran's. His career OPS plus is the same exact number as Moran's. More power, less hit, but essentially the same production value that you're getting out of the two guys. Defensively, they look the same at first, which isn't good. Which was kind of upsetting to me because I was like, maybe we could put Yoshi at DH, and I'm like, oh wait, this guy's worse.
I don't think Yoshi's going to be as bad at first as you think. As you seem to think he will.
I think that we remember. Excuse me. I think that we remember his right field and credit it to his first base.
And I think we remember being told how bad he was too. I don't remember him actually playing that bad there. So I'll let him take just as much of a shot as I let Moran take. And that's a very good point you made that Vogelback is pretty much Moran, because he is pretty much Moran. He's pretty much Moran, except he actually has a season on the books in which the power actually came to play, which Moran can't say.
Yeah.
So, and Moran was doing something really alarming, I felt, towards the end of his career here. You know, he may have gotten a little better at contact, especially against lefties, but he did it by sacrificing almost all of his power for slap hits to left. And that's not going to help when you can't run.
Yeah.
So,
True.
to me, I'd much rather him struck out 50 more times and hit 10 more home runs. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't like the way he was trending, really.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that even at the beginning of the year, Jake, you were calling for Moran for his power to show up.
Yeah.
It just felt like it didn't.
It didn't.
But yeah, Dan Vogelback, for fear of like offending him, which is not what I mean, I sent Jake a lot of gifs of Chris Farley whenever we signed him, trying to change clothes in the airplane and saying, this is Vogelback getting ready with his Pirates shirt on the plane on his way to spring training. Well, the one where he's doing his Matt Foley thing, and I said, this is Dan Vogelback's cardio. And
I mean, I'll be honest, though. Like, if you're an intangibles guy, I like him in this locker room. I mean, he's been around a little bit. He's been around some winners. You know, Milwaukee last year, for instance,
Mhm.
was a good team for him to be on. And he can tell tales about that to people that are just getting started. And, you know, Ben Gamble, same kind of class. I feel like they're not the best players in the world. They're replacement level Major League Baseball players. But they're going to take a professional at bat. They're going to get on base. They're going to work hard when they're in the field. And they're going to be good in the clubhouse. You got to have those. So, hey, I'm happy to have that.
yeah, I mean, some of the pictures that started surfacing whenever the signing happened, I was like, all right, this might be a lot of fun. At first, I was kind of like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like this, he's hit 200 for his career. But then you start looking deeper into the numbers, and it's like, okay, the 30 home runs in 19, you kind of wonder, because the ball was juiced in the whole deal, and he hasn't put up 10 in any other season, but he hasn't played. So it does make it hard, because then what kind of credit do you give when you say, well, but he got consistent at bats? Things click when you get consistent at bats. We talk about that all the time.
But does he look like a guy who isn't going to pull his hamstring 3 or 4 times this year? I mean, you get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Some guys stay healthy because they keep themselves healthy.
Yeah.
Reynolds plays 156 games because he treats his body like a well-oiled machine. You know, and not to offend the guy, but, you know, he's a bigger dude.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to pull some muscles and stuff. Now, maybe not playing in the field benefits him.
Yeah.
You know, and then
True.
he does get those at bats. Yeah, the power potential's there, and if you're looking for a reclamation project, he's a decent pickup.
Yeah, which
He's
I
got a
feel
good
like,
shot at a river ball this year.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, let's call it right now. Terrible signing if he doesn't have a river ball, because he should.
That's it.
You're totally right.
That's it.
That's how we'll judge it. Since
That's
we're
how.
all him
If he ends up with 4 home runs and hits 189 and we cut him loose in the middle of the year, if he hit one in the river, we'll be like, that was worth it.
Yeah,
there you go.
worth a shot.
If he doesn't, it wasn't worth it. Yeah, it does kind of say he's going to be our DH, which eliminates the possibility of a guy like O'Neal Cruz breaking in and getting time at short, time at DH, using the DH as a way, which is what I initially said. The Pirates are not going to get a DH. They're going to, everybody's going to be DH. And it doesn't look like that now, but maybe it still rotates more than what I think. I think if anybody's really impacted by this, maybe it's Michael Chavis.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a lot of Pirate Nation wanted to anoint him the second baseman. You know, they wanted to just say Michael Chavis is the second baseman. Period. He's the leader in the clubhouse. I kind of went in thinking it was Tucker, and I feel like Tucker has certainly done nothing early on in spring here to lose that. So I'm going to stick with Tucker there. I think Tucker's going to win out the second base job. I really do. I think his bats come along.
Fair.
He's making a different kind of contact this year. And you can say he's a bust if you want. If you want to judge him already, that's fine. I get it. Been around a while. But if that bat comes through, that was a number 1 pick.
Yep.
I mean, like, you're at least going to give him a chance to play like a number 1 pick before you move him, if nothing else. So,
absolutely,
to me, leader in the clubhouse is the guy who you need to move.
Yeah, I saw they interviewed him after he was done in game 1. He said he's been working really hard on his swing this offseason. So far, very short sample size, but it looks like maybe he's figured something out. Hopefully he's figured something out, because I'm rooting for the guy. I love watching Cole Tucker play.
Yeah.
He's just fun guy to watch.
He's a guy to root for, and you'd love to see him come through, but I mean, he's long in the tooth. I think I tweeted out first time I saw him this year. I was like, man, it looks like he put some pounds on the trunk finally. His legs are bigger, his ass is bigger. I mean, like, he looks like he's getting it into the swing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other side of it is I've only seen him from the left side so far. So I mean, he's a switch hitter, and I'd like to see how that translates to the right side, because he used to look pretty disjointed, and I don't want to have 3 more years of Neil Walker, he should just be a lefty conversations.
Yeah.
So let's see how he is from both sides.
Do they end up just platooning him with Chavis and just letting Chavis hit against lefties, and Tucker? I mean, you're going to have to let him hit against, the lefties once in a while.
Yeah.
But
with Chavis, though, if you don't give him 500 at bats this year, what's he here for?
Yeah,
it's time to find out. I mean, it's time to find out, is Michael Chavis somebody worth having on this roster or not?
He doesn't
think of him as Phillip Evans this year. That's what he is.
Yeah.
Show me what you got, or that's it.
He doesn't get cheated on that swing, though.
Nope.
Oh, man. He is trying to go bridge every time.
No, he definitely is. It's crazy.
Yeah, he seems like a fun guy too, and I know Jake's into him because of the short with the power, and he's into that. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you there, and actually, we'll get into that sort of thing here in a little bit. But let's go ahead and talk about what we saw in those games, as we're already doing. Anything sticking out to you? So I know it's 3 games, and I don't care about wins and losses right now. I really don't. What I just care about is the things that we've seen so far, the things that we've heard. So we've already talked Cole Tucker, because I think that was significant enough to say. It looks a little different, and maybe a little continuation of like the very small sample at the end of last year, where something seemed to be clicking for Cole Tucker. But he's also had some time at short, which is interesting to me. But I mean, when Jake and I went over what we thought was going to Pittsburgh on opening day, I had kind of said it's Cole Tucker's second base to lose or somebody to beat him off of it, and I still think that. But I don't know. We'll see how he shows up because there's just a lot of options. A lot of home runs from unsuspecting guys, a lot of wind blowing out. Right? Cole Tucker's home run.
Anyway.
Yeah, Cole Tucker's home run and Endy Rodriguez, those things were deep. The wind didn't really need to be on there for those, but Mason Martin hit the how did the Blue Jays announcer say it? He
lopped it.
He lobs one to right field, and it hits the light pole on its way to the parking lot.
I mean, he hit it pretty. I thought he hit that ball pretty well.
Yeah,
I mean,
Madras crushed that ball.
Oh my gosh, it was out so fast.
I gotta be honest, man. Like it's probably too late, really. But man, Madras, he's put in so much work. I swear to God, he's gonna catch on somewhere. I really do. I don't think it's gonna be here that he's gonna really get his shot, but I really think that kid's gonna make it somewhere.
I wondered if he wouldn't have ended up being. Now's probably too late, but maybe a year or two, or maybe if the whole 2020 thing didn't happen, but if he would have been one of those guys that would have been given an opportunity just because they didn't have somebody and then seen if something could have happened with him. But
yeah, I think that's fair. The 2020 thing, you're probably right.
Yeah.
I mean, an observation I have is where's Travis Swaggerty?
Good question.
Haven't heard his name.
Not once.
Haven't seen even a bullpen. Is that shoulder not right? I mean, and if not, I have another question about why they didn't sign a corner outfielder because, I kind of understood if you thought Swaggerty was right there, but if he's going into it injured or not quite right, boy, I don't understand it anymore.
Yeah.
That's fair, yeah.
That is interesting, not seeing him. We've seen Sawinski, we've seen Smith and Jigba, we've seen them all.
Cal Mitchell.
Except for Cal Mitchell's been out there. Matt Frazier's been out there. They've
Allen, Alfred, Reynolds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gamble.
Even Oliva.
Oliva's been out there a couple times. That's
Madras,
yeah.
So everybody but Swaggerty. Haven't seen him. No pinch hits, nothing. And it could just be like, he's working on something and doing sides, but maybe tell us, maybe let us know what's going on. He's supposedly a top prospect that we're supposed to be excited about. So,
right.
Maybe lift the skirt a little. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah. And that's one of our guys. I mean, that we're saying like, dude, this guy needs to get there. I think he's the only guy right now who gets Brian Reynolds back in left field.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's getting him back in left field now.
You don't think? Swaggerty's so good.
It doesn't matter. You want to know why?
Because he wants to play center.
Because he wants center field.
That's a good point. Same reason Marte didn't move Kutch.
Yep.
Initially.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless it becomes so painfully obvious that he's not capable. But he damn near won a Gold Glove last year.
Oh, I mean, he's certainly capable.
So am I going to move him because some guy might be marginally better? That isn't guaranteed to play anywhere near as much as him, mind you.
Right.
I ain't moving him. Sorry.
Yeah.
3 years down the road, Brian's getting a little slower. Swags is still fast. Okay.
But really, playing Swaggerty in left field is still valuable at PNC Park.
Yeah, we have 2 center fields.
Right. So Nick Gonzalez is another one. Guy just hits.
Yeah, he hits. He does his thing. I mean, he seems to be pretty much a no doubt prospect to me.
Yeah. There's just
I
nothing.
expect him to move pretty quick.
And we were talking about this a little bit before, me and Jake. Defensively, I'm not seeing a lot of the questions that were about his defense. I feel like his defense looks solid.
I haven't really seen a lot of questions about his defense.
Well, when a guy's drafted and they say he's never going to be a shortstop, he'll be he'll be serviceable at second base. And it's like, oh, okay. So he's, you kind of read into that to say he's a hit first guy.
I think he's going to be a hell of a second baseman. But I think that's because he's probably going to add more bulk.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'll lose a little bit of his springiness. So yeah, he's probably not long-term a shortstop. He can play it though. So could Brian Hayes.
Yeah, he could.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's always the big thing.
So could Triolo, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. Second base is probably his landing spot, though.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard he could play outfield. So, I mean, they think he could play outfield. He's athletic enough to play out there.
Yeah, he's made an appearance in center field, a couple appearances in center field in the fall league.
Right. So, I mean, position versatility is a Ben Cherington trademark. So, I don't know that we need to worry about it. It's really, is the bat going to hit? Yes. Then they'll find a place for him.
That seems to be a no doubter at this point.
Yeah. And you just hope the defense comes together. I think they have certainly better options at shortstop than him, though.
Yeah, he just doesn't panic. He gets down 2 strikes. It's just fine. Whatever. I'll just serve this ball in the center field, just lob it in over. You know what I mean? He's just professional approach.
Impressive for his age. He still strikes out a bit much for me. And I need to see the power in Altoona because I just don't trust Greensboro power. So we'll see. That wall is so short and right. So short. And he hit so many oppos there. And he didn't hit a lot away from Greensboro. So let's see what he does in Altoona. And even without the power, I still like the bat. But let's see the power before we start stroking ourselves about how great he is.
And hope he doesn't move to Indy too soon because it's hard to hit home runs in Indy. Then you're not going to see the power there.
There you just count the doubles like you did with Hayes. And
that's it. Then it translates. Yeah. Outside of Pedro Alvarez, some of the numbers that you see there, you're like, there's no power though. And then they come up and they're hitting bombs and you're like, oh, okay. So on the pitching side, I was really impressed by Kyle Nicholas, who we got in the Stallings trade. I thought he looked really good and maybe further along than I initially had thought too.
Yeah, Kyle Nicholas looked a little more evolved than I thought he was.
Yeah.
I had heard control was his big bugaboo. And I saw a little bit of that. I'm not going to lie, some of it. He did look like he was struggling to place the fastball a little bit, but I was pretty impressed with the command on his off-speed stuff and really the maturity of some of the pitches. They were well shaped. He didn't look like you were seeing like different verticals on his curveball. He knew what he was doing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting pickup there, and I don't think a lot of people really realized that was actually the piece out of that deal. But that's technically what he was supposed to be, the piece out of that deal. The other two are nice if they happens.
Right. Well, I think with Thompson, you get a more like right now option, and the outfielder I think is a wishing well situation.
Thompson's also an older guy, so yeah, he's for right now, but he's also a guy you're not going to be afraid to move on from in a couple of years because he's not in your age group, so he's not going to block anybody either. And Kyle Nicholas could be the guy that replaces him, oddly enough. So I mean, like, it's a good pickup for real. I like him. It's painful and foolish as I think the Stallings trade was. I like the return. I really do. So
we're gonna get into catching too.
A guy that stuck out to me so far pitching wise is Eichhoff. He was efficient.
Yeah. Is there an MLB where 91 is fast enough? Outside of like a few very,
you can locate it.
Like
that's
Greinke.
Fine.
Well, you got like Greinke and Kyle Hendricks and who else is there out there? Like
Greg Maddux used to be there.
Yeah, that was a different day though.
Yeah,
they're not calling strikes on a vertical like that anymore. I don't know.
I think it's interesting for him too because he doesn't have a clear picture. He doesn't have a clear shot at anything with him being off the 40 man being an invite. I just don't. I think it's a hard he's going to make a case. He went at it, but
I think he's going to be starting in the minors, if only because he was an emergency depth signing. That's what he'll remain. I think he'll teach some kids in AAA a few things,
mm-hmm.
and he'll come up here at some point, just like Chase Young did last year,
Mm.
and take a role, pitch, probably after the deadline when they move Quintana or something along those lines. And there he'll be, you know. Well,
Yeah,
Quintana's gone around the deadline whether he
that's a good point.
gets traded or stinks, right?
Yeah.
They'll move on from him one way or another.
Right.
So I'm not really worried about that. But Eichhoff's a nice insurance policy down there. I don't think he's going to threaten making this team, but who knows? Maybe in the bullpen.
That's what I was thinking. You could bring him in. He's going to throw you strikes.
Yeah,
Maybe
that
get
was
you
the
out of
thing
an
too.
inning,
I didn't.
move
Yeah,
on.
I didn't consider starting really, but
I didn't even think about him as a starter, to be
Well,
honest.
that's what he's been. So
Yeah.
and
But
I
mean,
figure they're probably going to stretch it into pretending he's one of the options there. So we'll see
everybody's an option.
until they aren't.
well, I mean, if you can get people out in 3 pitches or less, and you can actually pitch 7 innings.
That's true.
Right.
So, speaking of pitching, you have anything on that Dewey Robinson conversation? Because there were some things that kind of stuck out to me.
I'm not going to do anything better than what Alex Stump did in his piece about him. But that interview, if that didn't strike you as a Pirates fan about things are a little different in this development system,
Yes.
and you're not paying attention. And I'm not a reporter, but written a lot about that development system and the things that they brought in that weren't there before. They have really, really, really remade this development system from the bottom up. And when we talk about like a complete tear it down to the studs rebuild, everyone's always thinking about the players only. Think about tearing down the foundation too, because that's what they did. And they rebuilt this whole thing. Dewey Robinson is kind of the whipped cream on the sundae.
Mm.
And that guy knows what he's doing. And if he's impressed by what you've built, coming from where he came from, doing what he's done, yeah, I'm. That was encouraging to hear. That was really encouraging to hear.
A couple of the things, that he said, and I know like this is just me kind of backing up all the things that we talk about that everybody says that we're, blind and whatnot. But he says, we got some good young players. We're going to be good, and it's going to come quick. And the other thing he said is, if a player can't get better here, he can't get better anywhere. It's just so what you're talking about. It's all there. And which is why he said he came to Pittsburgh to begin with. Because he said they had all this stuff in place, and now all we have to do is get it right. And he was talking just from facility-wise and personnel-wise, and that to me makes a big difference when, we start saying, hey, Sherrington's coming in. We understand he's got this plan and all these things are going to go well, but then until you really see it, you're just kind of crossing your fingers. I think something like this is enough of a sign to say, oh, this is enough to say this is happening. Not just we're hoping, but this is a good sign to say that what we've been hoping for, and this is just the pitching side, that he's speaking to. But I mean, it's the whole thing. I also like that he's an old school guy, and he's just like, bring on all the new technology. Let's go. Right?
Yeah, he didn't let it get in his way. He didn't decide what we did back then was good enough, but he remembers it.
Yeah.
So I think what happens with a lot of these younger guys that have been brought up with analytics, like, to be blunt, Oscar Marin is exactly that guy. He's an analytics based coach, and that's what he was brought up in. I think sometimes those guys lack that other side of things where they've actually seen how the analytics apply and they actually understand why the analytics are important because they've lived them. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a missing piece of the puzzle that not all organizations get right.
Mm-hmm.
Dewey Robinson is that missing link.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he knows both, and he's actively coached both. So if he gets what you're doing something right. And for some reason, we never believed the players because the players have been telling us that all this talent's coming for a while.
Yeah.
And the players have been telling us they like what they're being taught for a while. And the players that leave have been telling us that they liked what they were doing there. And
Yeah.
so, at some point, the sky is blue. Be done with it. They've remade the development system. Now we're going to hopefully get to taste some of the fruit here this year.
Absolutely. And one of one of which Ronzi Contreras came in throwing absolute heat today. That looked good. Walks the first guy. You're like, okay, settle down. Oh, he was done before you finished saying settle down. 13 pitches after walking the first guy. I think he threw 7 pitches to the first guy.
Yep. What'd you think of that, Jake?
I didn't get to watch it, but I'm sitting here and I was looking at some of the stuff and I'm like, this is nice. It's a breath of fresh air.
He's been lights out since he came, man.
Yeah.
It's it makes you wonder what the Yankees were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, sincerely. Like, I know you got to give to get. I know you got to give to get. But, man, I'm not giving that kid alone for Jameson Taillon.
Right.
Just, he didn't get that much better over an off season, and the Yankees had no idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's no way that they didn't know this talent was there.
Right.
It's crazy.
And I'm not done with Yehore yet.
No, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yehure's got a great chance to be a really solid pitcher. I still think he has the most developed off-speed stuff in the system, period. So
absolutely,
I love the kid. But he's close to the majors. He's running into like Rule 5 trouble in New York. They didn't want to give him a spot, and they didn't have time for a youngster in their rotation right then, and still a little bit of a project. Pirates could afford that. So, okay, that makes sense. Throw him in on a deal for Taillon.
Mm-hmm.
But Roansy Contreras?
yeah.
Really? You didn't recognize that kid could almost hit triple digits? Like, did he learn that in an offseason? Really? Did he really learn that in an offseason? So, hey, kudos to the Pirates scouts for identifying him.
Yeah.
Kudos for the Yankee scouts being blind or not giving a crap because they know they'll buy pitching later anyway.
That's right. They don't. That's the big thing. It just doesn't matter. They can go get it when they need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Turns out they need it. Wouldn't he be nice in their system right now?
Yeah.
Yankees going to be the 4th best team in the AL East this year.
He wouldn't be nice there. He's nice here. So we're actually not going to take a break. We're just going to keep rolling because that rolls right into the questions that we need answered. And that's the first part of it is starting pitching. There's a lot of par starting pitching options on this roster. And how do you find ways to get a look at all these guys to see who can separate themselves from the pack? I'm assuming Brubaker and Quintana probably seem to be locks for the rotation, I would imagine. I don't see, barring injuries, I would think that they would get their shots. Keller probably.
Keller's a lock too.
I feel like it has to be. Okay, so you're both on Keller being a lock. And then you have Crow, Kranick, Peters, Thompson, Wilson, maybe Medina that just came in, and then throw in Yehore and Contreras. I mean, there's just a lot of guys. I wonder, I know that it was said before that, we're looking to maybe add another one.
Yeah, I think that other one might have been Chase DeYoung.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Okay. But either way, I don't see where there's an option to get another one because I want to see, huh?
I've been saying that for months.
Yeah, because I want to see these guys and see who can actually break apart from all of this. And I don't see it. But
to me, if you bring somebody in, if you want to take a salary dump from the A's, they're trying to get rid of 2 good starters. You want to take one of them, and I know he's going to be my number 1 or number 2 starter. Have at it. I'll take that. That's good. We need that.
Yeah.
And we'd have that control for a while. That's great. Bring it in. I'd take that. Don't bring in another number 5.
Right.
Don't bring in somebody else to compete in the bottom. I don't need it. We don't need it. I think what you said is dead on. It's going to be Quintana if he stays healthy. And Brubaker, Wilson, Keller, probably Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, that's what Thompson was brought in here for. Again, why'd you get him if he's not going to start? I mean, that's what you brought him in for. And he's arguably got the best major league numbers out of any of those people we named.
Yeah.
So he's most likely going to be a starter as well. Now, if you want to get cute and say they're going to have piggybacks and stuff, then whatever.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Will Crowe is a perfect candidate to wind up in the bullpen. He has a lot of pitches, and I like a lot of what he did last year. I'd like to see what he could do with going all at it for a couple innings instead of trying to stretch himself out.
Maybe cut a couple of those pitches out.
I think he'd find some more velocity. I think he could get rid of some problematic pitches for him.
That's a good point.
And he's a good bullpen guy. Max Kranick could be a good bullpen guy.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, too, AAA needs pitching, too.
Right.
So, we already talked about Eichhoff, right? I mean, he's probably going to be a rotation guy. Cam View is down there. But you're going to need Max Kranick, and Will Crowe could go down there. He could start in the bullpen. I think there's a lot of options there.
If they were going to
Dylan
try,
we didn't talk about Dylan Peters.
I was just about ready to bring him up. We were, but Will Crowe, that would be a way to send him to AAA. Is if they were going to make a move to the bullpen to try to get rid of a couple of those pitches and go all out on that. I think that's good. I kind of felt like last year. I mean, he made more starts than anybody else. Only Brubaker had more innings than him. And so it was kind of like, well, his value might just be in eating innings, but I hadn't really considered that, moving to the bullpen would be good. So that is good. Dylan Peters and Bryce Wilson, though, neither one, and like I said, this is one outing, but neither one really looked sharp. And I kind of really missed on Dylan Peters. Jake, I was telling you about this. I kind of had him as a bullpen guy the whole time, and he only started for the Pirates last year in his 6 games. And so I don't know really where I was at with my thinking, but I kind of missed that. But
see, I think your thinking's right, just from the little exercise we just did making the rotation.
Yeah.
Where's he fit?
Yeah.
Where's he fit? I mean, Quintana's the lefty.
Right.
So it's not like you have to force a lefty in.
Right.
To me, I like Dylan Peters, and I actually today, I think even that home run was a good pitch. It was down and in, and the guy O'Neill cruised it. And
oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
every once in a while, that's going to happen to you. Other than that, he was the same Dylan Peters we saw last year. Pounded the strike zone, sneaky good stuff, deceptive delivery. He's one of those guys that I bet everybody in the league thinks they're going to crush, and for some reason can't pick him up. And guys like that, they can have careers too. You don't have to be a number 1 pick to make a rotation. But I don't think he's got the numbers in his favor, really, just for what we just talked about. Now injuries happen.
Sure.
But I don't think you're paying Quintana $2 million to be in the bullpen. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, that sounds ridiculous because $2 million is a fine bullpen salary, but but you're right. Here, you're not. Well, I don't think that you're moving Quintana to the bullpen because that doesn't help increase trade value.
It doesn't help Quintana either.
Mm-mm.
Because he wouldn't be here if he wasn't going to get a shot at the rotation.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he got bumped to the bullpen last year in Anaheim, didn't he?
A couple different times in his career, he's been bumped to the bullpen.
That said, who the hell knows what Anaheim's doing with pitching?
Seriously.
The only reason
that's Dylan Peters too.
Ohtani's good is because Shohei Ohtani's that good that he just overcomes whatever they do to pitchers out there.
That's Dylan Peters too.
Yeah. Chris Stratton.
So next, we'll stay in the battery here. Is catching the most important need right now?
Yes. It has been.
I just hear a lot about pitching, and I'm like, I'm fine with the pitching right now.
Did you watch those Michael Perez at bats in the first game? I mean, he might have looked worse than last year.
No, you can't.
He hit 143 last year. He might have looked worse in that first game of spring than he did all of last year. He was swinging at fastballs like they were curveballs. I don't even know what he was doing.
I don't know. Something has to happen. You can't go in.
It's bad.
I don't like the situation at all. I've written about it. I've talked about it. I've read about it. It's derelict of duty to go into a season with an oft injured, albeit very quality catching, starter. You can't do it. You just can't do it.
Now, most of his injuries have been the last couple of years. That's most of his early years of not playing a lot of games was because Yan Gomes, the offensive catcher, was in front of him, and Perez was basically catching all the guys winning Cy Youngs.
That's true.
So, if
there's one thing you get a recency bias on, though, it's injury.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, Stallings played in 112 games last year, I think.
Yep.
So
that still leaves 50-some games that need covered by a spud.
Exactly.
Right.
And what number for Roberto Perez, if you're saying let's keep you healthy, I mean, over under 90. What do you got?
I'd say right around 90. I'd say if Ben Cherington isn't waking up with night sweats about his catching position, he is thinking to himself, Roberto Perez is good for 90 games. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. He's got to be scouring.
If he's like me, thinking about it constantly, he's expecting 75. They have got to do something about it. Taylor Davis is not good enough. No. I admittedly don't know very much about Richie beyond reading his stats.
Yeah, I'm saying.
I guess if he can competently handle a pitching staff, okay, Michael Perez can do that part too. But that's just a hole, period. And I hate it.
So
I'd do something about it, but I don't think they're going to.
That's a fear of mine, but also there's nobody free agent available. There's nothing there that's any different from what we have right now.
You'd have to trade for somebody like Kelly from Arizona.
So then the next question, and I mean, Jake, are you trading anyone away for 2022 roster, or do you just say it is what it is, one of these guys is catching, or do you say no, that's not good enough?
I mean, I'm in the boat where it's just not good enough. I think we're all on the same page there. But Josh and I have had this debate at one point. So, Gary, I'm going to ask you, if you had to choose between Taylor Davis and Michael Perez, who would you choose?
Taylor Davis, at least he's different.
Absolutely.
That was your point.
That was exactly it. Not because he's that much better. It's just because it's not Michael Perez. Period.
Yeah, I'm that down on him, and the mechanics are that bad.
Yeah.
I don't see it. And the defense is good, but it's not good enough for me to just be like, okay, you can just sit back there and be all right. I mean, and this isn't like oh, if we don't get a catcher, no championship. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Right.
about like you've got a lot of young developing pitchers. Give them somebody competent to throw to, somebody that's done this before, somebody that knows how to handle a pitching staff. Roberto Perez checks all of those boxes.
Yep.
I would have slapped my sister in front of my mom to have them sign him as a backup to Jacob Stallings,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
not as my starter.
Right.
That's all. Get me somebody else competent before we end up in Fort McHenry territory. Because this smells a lot like Rob Barajas' season. And they got to do something. You can't go into a season like this. There's just too much riding on the pitchers actually developing.
I mean, do you think they may? I mean, and I know this isn't a great trade piece, but O'Neal Cruz is probably. I mean, he's going to be up this year. So do you think they're going to trade like Newman to make room for Cruz and get a catcher that's not bad?
I think they could. Sure. I don't think they will.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think like you have they have a glut of players that can play there. Like Diego Castillo could step in and play there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hoy Park could step in and play
Cole
there.
Tucker.
Cole Tucker could be. I mean, any number of things they could do already. So I'm not worried about when Cruz comes up. Hell, I don't even know if you want him playing shortstop in the major leagues. You know, and I just don't think that anybody knows that yet. They're still working on his footwork. And they just said in the booth the other day, he really wants to be a shortstop. Well, that's not what you say when somebody's asking, is he a shortstop? And you're the head of development. Where you say he really wants to play shortstop. You can say he really wants to improve. I get that.
Yeah.
But you're specifically telling me that he really wants to play shortstop. Okay. You're telling me about all I need to know. So how long do we keep letting this be the carrot dangled in front of this kid?
And you hear all the things about if he plays shortstop, he's staying engaged and there's some possible maturity issues or something like that. And I'm like, I don't really know if that plays in as much, but that's like saying compared to moving him to right field or something like that.
Yeah. Like Tatis stinks as a shortstop.
Yeah.
He's really good at getting to the ball, but he can't throw worth a damn. Well, that's O'Neal Cruz's problem. He's got a cannon of an arm. He can't throw worth a damn.
He fielded 2 balls. He fielded 2 balls the other day, and the first one he threw to Key Bryant at third. And the second one, it was an underhand flip to second. And I was like, we still didn't see the arm.
Yeah. He's got a cannon of an arm. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It is. And it's fun to watch. And it's crazy watching him get the balls. You don't even know how his body works like that. It's like watching a cat jump off a table. You're like, how did they bend like that? Well, when you watch O'Neal Cruz go down for a ball, it's the same kind of thing. Like all this stuff starts folding up, and he somehow gets there, and he gets up and spring right across the field, and wow. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just not sure where it's going.
That awkwardness because of him being so tall. I wonder if that's. I mean, I know for me, it's always like he can't play short, and that's what everybody says. Like when you watch him just field a ground ball, you're like, that's not going to work. And yet you watch him field all of them, and they all don't like it's going to work, but they all so far are, you know what I mean, for the most part, are working. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's the throwing accuracy. It's the big thing. But
so he's slick though. I mean, he's a slick fielder. It's cool watching it.
I want it to work just because of the freak show that it is. Like not, that's a poor choice of words because that makes it sound like it's not worthy of it, but just because it's like, you know what I'm saying? Just because it's like, no, we have a 6'7" shortstop. That's nuts.
Right. I mean, again, I think he can play there. I just think that long term, he's probably going to have to move. So yeah. I'd personally quit messing with it. But if you need to like have him make the majors first as a shortstop, and then slowly start working him into the outfield where you can closely maintain his attitude, make sure he's okay. Okay, do what you got to do.
Right.
No matter what, we want that bat in the lineup.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to be down for more than a month before they decide to bring him up. So
Yeah. Uh, yeah. There's just so much involved there that it just I don't know. You get the DH, you kind of think there's some things opening up because then you never have to technically move him off a short. But I mean, Jake brought up last week, some people can't DH because it takes them out of the game.
He's got an 80 total arm.
Yeah, that's true too.
It's really hard to like tell him you want him on the bench.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that throwing from the Clemente wall?
Well, that'd be great.
Well, think about that. Like, that's why it's so sexy to have him in the field. If he can harness that arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Well,
want
the
that.
other thing is like who's there? I mean, like I know where there's a bunch of other people who can. But like I feel like somebody's got to be a no doubt shortstop saying, "Dude, you're going to right because of this guy." And I don't know if that's Piguero. Yeah,
It's not this year.
it's no.
It's gonna,
well, no.
I'll tell you what, though. It could be Kevin Newman.
Yeah,
Really.
it could be.
And people love to write him off.
I know.
They've written him off
He's
for
easy
years and
to.
years and years. But
Because he hit 300 as not a great shortstop, and then all of a sudden he's a great shortstop who can't hit.
well, he learned the shortstop. The thing is, though, that 300 season, his metrics didn't change. He was doing the same thing in 2019 that he was doing in 2021.
Yeah.
Just got better results.
Yep.
I mean, look at his launch angle. He's one of the only players you'll see that has a negative launch angle. It's
Right.
true.
Yeah.
And if he fixes that and he makes better contact, you're not going to move a Gold Glove shortstop out of the way for somebody that's not going to play Gold Glove shortstop.
Right.
If you can get that bat in the lineup.
I mean,
That's
led
all.
the major leagues in most defensive categories in that race and was dead last in offensive categories. And it's just such a difference. I think I saw like, oh, yeah, well, he was second in a couple things to Jacob Stallings. It's like, oh, yeah, great. Way to rub that one in.
Point is, like, he's going to get the nod, I think, to start at shortstop. And he's got every opportunity to make himself valuable.
Yeah.
This team doesn't have a leadoff hitter. He can do that if he can get his OBA where it needs to be.
That's right.
And, that's on him. He's the number one pick, too. Act like it.
So with that said, Derek Shelton told the reporters the Pirates are leading the league in opportunities this spring. And I just want to hear from you guys, are we buying this or are we selling this in a way that, like, not speaking from a talent perspective, but who controls who gets playing time at this point? Is it Sherrington? I want to see these players. Is it Sherrington? I want that value in play here, like we talked about Quintana and like you just said about Newman? Or is Shelton going out there and setting the best lineup to win every day? Or is that more of a, hey, this is 2022. We have to do these things in order to make 23, 24, 25 better? What kind of opportunities are we seeing? Jake, you buy or sell that?
It's difficult for me. You have 18 games. If you're talking about opportunities in spring training for people to show, hey, I'm your guy, or whatever, step up, it's 18 games. It's too short of a sample. I don't think. I think they have a pretty good idea who's starting opening day. I think they have a pretty good idea of who their 26-man roster is. There may be, they may be teetering on 25, 26 man. You know what I mean? Like, but they've got at least 24 pretty much nailed down. That 20, and one of those 25, 26 is going to be who the heck is going to be our backup catcher.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, okay. So I guess I'm kind of selling. I'm selling it if you're just talking about spring.
Yeah.
But the options through the organizations there's a lot.
we don't know what the roster size is going to be for the first month of the season yet. So,
Touche.
um, it's a little premature to start guessing that they know the plan when they don't even know the roster size yet.
That's
But
fair.
like if there's 30 like there was in 2020, which they've discussed because of the shortened spring doing,
Oh, I got you.
um, then you know it'd be pretty hard to convince the fans that there's 29 better players than O'Neal Cruz. You know,
Yeah.
I think
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be hard with 26. That said, let's be honest. Who the hell's watching the Pirates right now that isn't painfully aware why O'Neal Cruz isn't going to come up? If you're
Right.
watching at this point, you paying attention. You know what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. You know, so you're basically left with the people that are bitching about manipulation versus the people that understand why manipulation happens. That's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, to be blunt, that home run he hit the other day, while it's exciting, it's the same one he hit at the end of the last
Yeah.
season. Well, you don't want him swinging at that ball. You don't want him to swing at that ball. That's a terrible habit to get into in the major leagues. And he knows that. He said it
Yeah.
himself. I don't even know how I hit that ball. He literally said it after the game. So let's also not pretend like he doesn't have some learning to do.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I actually think he is somebody that really rightly should play a little bit of AAA. So who am I to say that he should start opening day? I mean, it's a month. If he had played 3 months in Indianapolis last year, okay, you'd have
Mhm.
me dead to rights on manipulation. And I'm also not going to argue with you that he's a better player than Kevin Newman long term. I won't. He probably is, but it's not a problem if they wanted to play in AAA a little bit. And Ruanzi, man, you want to be careful with that kid. You want to be careful. He had elbow problems last year. Let's not forget that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to go into like just asking this kid to eat 109 innings. It's not going to happen. So I don't know, manipulation or smart. You tell me. There's a reason it's done. It's because they can get away with it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you buying or selling?
Selling,
Yeah. uh, uh, here's the other
selling, and
thing.
making excuses.
Yeah. There. Yeah. Um, are we convinced that nobody who is on the team, on the 22 team, maybe just say like to start the year, aside from Hayes and Reynolds, are in the plan for say 24? Do you see an entirely different squad between young players moving up, free agents, trade pieces filling in? Uh, do you see anyone on this roster who will get more opportunities to play even if he doesn't give them the chance to win right now?
Um, I mean, I see a good easy 10 to 14 player turnover from this year to next year. I have a little bit easier time seeing into next year. You know, you
Sure.
start talking about 24, I'm like, I don't know, did Tucker hit? You know, like there's things like that. If Tucker hits, okay, we're having a different conversation. I'm sorry, he's somewhere, right? If he starts to hit, they've got more control of him than Kevin Newman. So,
How do
you
you
know,
fit
that
Tucker
changes the
in?
game.
How do you fit Tucker in if you're looking at, if you're thinking 24? I
What
know,
did I
like
say
you
about
just
the
said,
bats? What did I say about the bats? If the bats do what, then what do? They play.
yeah,
He'll play outfield then.
yeah, that's true.
Maybe
Mm-hmm.
he'll DH.
He'll move around.
Maybe he's a better fielder. So he
Yeah, I
keeps
mean, he's
fielding.
certainly, if he's hitting,
Yeah, if
it's
he's hitting.
possible he's shortstop long
If it's
term,
hitting, you don't know what he is.
right?
If it's hitting, you want his bat in the lineup. So it doesn't matter.
You could see O'Neal Cruz moving his way to right field and Tucker at short, Gonzalez at second, and you'd be fine with that.
You could see conceivably by 24, you want to get crazy about it? In 24, you could see O'Neal Cruz, who could play third base too, uh, taking over third base for Brian Hayes, who's traded for that stud pitcher you need. You don't know.
Yeah,
You don't know.
it's true.
And you don't know what's coming.
I don't like that one, but yeah.
No, but you don't like it right now.
right.
You don't like it right now, but by then he may not be like, oh, he's our only shot at a star like he is right now.
Sure.
Because he's not. Even this year, he's going to get outshined. O'Neal Cruz is going to steal his luster, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even if Hayes is the best version of himself, he's still had one bad season, right? And it'll be next year he's got to prove it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then by next year, everybody will be complaining that he's about to get traded because he's not going to extend here, right?
Right.
I mean, all I'm saying is I'm being realistic. You don't even know who's going to be playing third base in 2024. No. That's how much things change.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I expect a big turnover after this year. Yes, 10 to 14 probably.
Yeah, it's going to change a lot, and that's
Because if Kevin Newman doesn't hit this year, they're not taking him to ARB too.
Nope, not going to happen.
I mean, like,
well,
you can worry
especially
about a trade,
not.
But you can worry about a trade, but take that out of the equation. If he doesn't hit, he's gone after this year anyway.
Right.
One way or another.
Well, and I mean, I would say, unless he, I don't know. Unless he hits, you're right. That's right.
If he hits, then you want him as your second baseman, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or you want him as your shortstop for Nick Gonzalez, or you want Liover Peguero there, and you want to put Kevin Newman in the outfield where he's played.
Yeah.
Or he can play third base and be a bench bat. There's so many things you could do. We don't know the combinations until we really understand how Tucker and Newman shake out.
I have a hard time with if Kevin Newman continues to play short the way that he's playing. If I say if he's in the lineup, he's a short. I just don't see another player defensively. If he's hitting and he's on the team, for my money, he's a short, and I'll figure everything else out. If he continues to play at the level that he did last year, I just can't see why that would be.
I don't think he has a defensive rival.
No.
Mm-mm.
And I can't even call Peguero that because Peguero has struggled defensively. I will caution people that much like the short fence in Greensboro, they might as well be playing in a cow pasture.
Mm.
So it's not the greatest field for infielders, which should make Jared Triolo that much more impressive.
Yeah. And once again, say that Nick Gonzalez isn't doing that bad. I still don't, I just think that I'm not worried about. I was worried about him defensively at that point, but it's non-existent at this point. Like, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, right. Not either. So, worked with Jack Wilson a lot. So, they seem to figure some things out, but he's happy as a second baseman. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I get excited when I think about it. I know it's not said and done, but I get excited about it.
That's the fun of this, though.
Yeah.
This is the part that, like, people want to dwell on the bad side of the rebuild and how terrible it is bottoming out, and it sucks. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's been fun watching it. And bracing yourself for it's not fun either. I mean, and anybody that's lost a grandparent knows that. Grandma's going, but it doesn't make it any more fun. You know what I mean? So it sucks to watch. It does. But this is the fun part. This is the fun part, and it starts this year. This is when you start to get to see these kids come up. This is when you get to start thinking seriously about what happens in 2023.
Right.
And think of the little variations there. Like we were just talking about Tucker and Newman. What if Tucker hits?
Right.
Oh, man, what does that do? Because there's people in this town that have already cast him aside. He's done.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And people have thrown Newman out with the bathwater a long time ago. So, boy, what if one of them hits? Oh, man, what if Allen's good? Oh, my God, if Allen's good, if Allen's good, oh my God, we don't need to worry about that corner outfielder we've been crying about, do we? Think about how little things like that,
Right.
just like Vogelback is signed for next year. Technically, they have an option they
Right.
can pick up on him. So say he comes out and hits 29, 30 home runs. Man, all right.
Now, if one of them doesn't go in the river, I don't care.
Right.
We've already said that.
It was a terrible signing if it doesn't go in the river. I get that. But like, seriously, what does that do? Oh man, that changes things. And all of a sudden, this cast off.
Yep.
Now we've got a guy that like is for sure coming back next year. We know he's got pop. He can hang first base for a while. Mason Martin's another year closer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if this stuff he's been working on, if his stuff he's been working on changes swing decisions and things, and it seems like, why wouldn't it, right?
But he can come up, and then he's got Vogelbach there for the first half of the season before he's gently moved off to his next destination.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Mason Martin there to pick up the pieces. That's if he hits.
Yeah.
And that's how amazing this stuff is, and how little changes make such big differences. If Thompson is something,
right?
Oh man, you got like a nice piece there, right? What if Keller figured it out? If Keller figured it out,
we're not worried about the line drive off the leg, right?
Just a bruise.
Just a bruise. We're not worried about this. Okay.
If Keller figured it out, man. There's your ace.
Yeah, because that's where that's what we've been waiting for, and we never got to see happen with a guy like Glasnow, which I would made my case on him anyway. But
I'll go this far: if Keller figures it out this year and shows it, and they bring up Rowanzi, don't be surprised if they don't buy big this offseason.
Yeah, this offseason.
If you have Keller, who's only got 3 years left.
Okay.
And Rowanzi both going this year. And you know they're coming back next year as a big 1-2 punch in your... Don't be surprised if they don't buy next year. Because the pitching will tell the story of when this rebuild is ready to move.
Oh,
if
yeah.
the pitching is there.
Oh, yeah.
If the pitching's there, even if early, even if it's just from Keller and Rowanzi, and say Wilson and Thompson together make one, or Brubaker figures something out. Don't be surprised if they don't go buy somebody who's traditionally been an ace and really fill that out and go for it.
Does that speed up Nick Gonzalez then?
I bet it speeds up Davis, Gonzalez. Yeah.
Davis,
so
yeah.
Don't be shocked. That's your White Sox moment right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's like when Giolito figured it out.
Yeah.
Think about it. That's how important Mitch Keller's season is. It's not just, can this mental case get his head out of his ass? It's, can this be the point?
Yeah.
Because if not, really, what's your pitching?
Well, you got to consider.
What it is. Yeah.
You got to consider, too, you just got to get like somewhat over 500 and you're in.
Yep.
The Reds would have been in the last year with 83 wins.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, you don't do everything that they've done in this organization to get in. So you're going to go for it.
Right.
And there will be a go for it point. So,
but
my question is when.
Get in, and you have just as much of a chance. I mean, we won 98 games one year, and we're one and done in the postseason.
Yep.
So get in first and see where it goes. There is no more one-game bullcrap. Right. Which I still am irked with the result of, we get a 6 team in the postseason. I'm like, yeah, it's okay, but we get rid of the one game. And then I turn on the TV or read articles and they're like, it's a bummer they got rid of that one game. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We all hated it when it was here, and now you love it when it's gone? What's wrong with you? It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah. I hated it almost as bad as I hated Ghost Runners. So
yeah, which are maybe coming back.
Oh, I heard they were keeping them out.
And now there is talk about possibly bringing them back even for this year. Supposedly the players liked it.
Like after the 12th inning or something, or
I don't know if there's like an inning tied to it. Maybe there will be in the end, like once it gets so far.
Talking about the 12th or 13th inning or something like that.
Well, whatever. I don't like it. I hope they don't. But so
no.
I'll
And
adapt.
I've heard some say like, okay, well, let's do it, but let's put him on first, not on second. Let's make him actually move him in. I think I'd be a little okay with it then. I just don't like it.
I'd be more okay with that, but not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so be it.
So be it. Well, I think that's about it. We're a little over. I'm okay with that. We like to go over here. That's kind of our deal. One of these days we're going to go short just to throw everyone off.
Then you'll have people tweeting at you why the show was so short.
Maybe not. That was a short one. But so Gary, thanks for coming on. We had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good time.
I gave you a little a plug at the beginning, but why don't you go ahead and say everywhere that you're available and all of that good stuff.
Sure. We just had our 1-year anniversary for the Pirates Fan Forum today. That's on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcasting Network. You can find that on YouTube or anywhere you find podcasts, such as this fine one that you're listening to right now. And I write for Inside the Bucks Basement, and something new just about every day on that site, so check it out.
Absolutely. Jake, you have anything closing here?
I mean, we've talked about so much. I mean, the Pirates' future's bright, guys. Just keep paying attention. If you haven't been paying attention, start.
Jake can smell the wings clearly.
Yeah.
What's that?
Jake can smell the wings clearly. He's ready to go. He's like, listen,
I'm excited, man.
I smell the hot sauce in the background here. Let's wrap it up.
There's so many guys where I work that are just like, man, Pirates suck. They're never going to be good. They're the worst organization. Blah, blah, blah. I just want to say, hey, how the Pirates doing right now? You know, when we're actually doing really well. And I think we're getting there. I think we're seeing signs of it.
Yep. It's good
Pretty
stuff.
soon I'll be able to wear my Pirates shirt over to the grocery store and not get dirty looks. I can't wait.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Jeez. Not have to have a discussion about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
You know what I mean? What are we doing? This is the same, and this is the same thing over and over. I'm not sitting here saying that Ben Sherrington has all the answers and that we're 100% convinced that this will work. There's a lot of signs saying that they're at least doing it right. Whether it works or not is maybe somewhat up to the man at the top. If it doesn't get fulfilled when all the pieces are there, if there's a hole and it doesn't get plugged, then we know why. Just like you said, buy big in the offseason. I know that we like to say 40 million, we just crossed 40 million. That's a lot of fun. When they made their runs, those 3 years in the postseason, our payroll was over 100 million. So technically he showed then that if it's there, the money's available. Hopefully that's the case again. But what excites me is that development is going to keep it coming if this continues. And that's the thing that I said, Gary, when I was on your show, Cleveland pitches all the time. And when they get rid of those big time pitchers, everybody complains. And then Shane Bieber shows up and you're like, okay, we're good. And then Savali shows up and you say, all right, we're all right. Yep. You know, and then Plesac or whoever, you know what I'm saying? Like they just keep them coming, which is why I was excited when Tanaj Thomas came over. And then, you know, maybe not, but.
Well, we should have let him develop a little bit more first.
Kept him there first and then bring him over. I like it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just the thing. I mean, if they could get the outfielders right, that'd be better. But like Cleveland doesn't spend money either, and they're always in the mix. This year might be a little more difficult for him with what the Twins are doing. And, you know, obviously the White Sox are there, but still.
Royals are no joke either this year. So.
No. So it's hard to tell, but it's the same sort of thing that they're still competitive year in and year out. And, you know, we'll see if I might have some knocks. We'll see if all of this continues deep down the road. Until then, hey guys, we're along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go Bucks.
Let's go Bucks.
All right.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!